Welcome back, kind viewer, and thank you to all of those who have tuned in for the entirety of our Kenner action figure journey. We have reached the final countdown of figures from the theatrical releases of the original Star Wars trilogy. These 15 figures were released under the Power of the Force logo after Return of the Jedi was no longer in theaters. There are some noticeable price differences between the two different card backs with this release, so the prices for this list will be a little more detailed. Kenner wrapped up their original movie figure run with an ideal mix of showstoppers and total misfires to serve our purposes. Now sit back and enjoy as we count down from laughable worst to absolute best with Episode 10, The Power of the Force. Number 15. How do you make Darth Vader totally lame? You take him out of his awesome costume, you put him in Ben Kenobi's hand-me-downs, and end up with the Anakin Skywalker action figure. If not for that generic-looking tunic, dressed-down Darth Vader could easily pass for your creepy uncle who farts when you pull his finger. He has no accessories or noteworthy details. Couldn't they at least have made him a ghost? The only thing that does stand out is that terrifying box art. Speaking of creepy uncles, Loose-mint Anakin will cost you around $20, with Tri-Logo carded figures around $150. Anakin, on his Kenner card back, can go anywhere between $7,000 and $10,000, so perhaps the Force is still with old Darth after all. When the only thing that stands out about you is the obvious lack of effort that went into your packaging, you know you are heading to the bottom of a worst to first countdown. We'll take his awesomely dressed alter ego over this grumpy old man of a figure any day of the week. Number 14. What's only marginally better than a creepy old uncle in drab gray robes? Well, how about a creepy old uncle in flamboyant purple and red? As figures go, Imperial Dignitary is just as useless. It looks like some uppity pale guy stole the Pope's clothes, dyed them, and threw in a flashy ascot for good measure. Hey, how fun does that sound? Exactly. Loose Imperial Dignitary is priced around $90, with carded mint examples at $200. Kenner and George Lucas himself would have been better off just throwing in some more awesome-looking royal guards than wasting our time with this guy. Imperial Dignitary does nothing to warrant his existence in either the toy or the movie universe. Number 13. Kenner throws one more generic-looking Ewok at you in the form of Ramba. Although the character does appear a number of times in Return of the Jedi, Ramba is just so bland that you probably didn't even realize it was the same Ewok. Action figure Ramba doesn't help his case by sporting the most generic hood and spear accessories out of all the Ewoks, and judging by the look on his face, Ramba knows it. Loose mint Rambas cost about $70. The Kenner carded Ramba is priced around $180, while the Tri-Logo carded figure is $235. He may well be the unsung hero in the Battle of Endor, but Ramba is so innocuous in appearance that he just doesn't get the credit he deserves. That is an equally tragic flaw for an action figure, and it has cursed Ramba to a fate languishing in Ewok toy obscurity. Number 12. Kenner pulls off the triple dip with Artoo Detoo with pop-up lightsaber. Although the lightsaber itself is a cool upgrade, Kenner opted not to change anything else about their seriously flawed R2 facsimile. It is one of the true shames of the original Kenner Star Wars toy legacy that they never stepped up to the plate to deliver a more accurate version of this beloved character. Loose mint R2s cost $330, but keep a lookout for fake lightsaber accessories. Kenner cardback figures go for $450, while tri-logo carded figures cost $550. When Kenner Artoo Detoo looks in the mirror, he probably doesn't recognize his own face. That's because it isn't his face. Gimmicky upgrades may be nice, but they do nothing to mask the fact that Artoo Detoo is the worst represented hero in the Kenner Star Wars toy galaxy. Number 11. Warrock steals Lumat's accessories, separating himself slightly from his generic cohort, Rumba. Accoutrements that contrast sharply with his gray fur, along with a slightly more dramatic pose, help Warrock escape the bottom of our list, but just barely. His unoriginality doesn't stop there. Changing a couple of letters does little to hide the fact that he didn't even get his own name. Loose mint Warrock cost $120. Kenner cardback figures are $195, with the tri-logo variant just a bit more valuable at $200. He stole Lumat's weapon. He stole Wicket's last name. Warrock is a complete ripoff of his contemporaries, but fortunately for him, these combined influences make for a fairly decent Ewok action figure. Number 10. Continuing the tradition of low-end army builders, A-Wing Pilot is at least a little bit better than his B-Wing counterpart. The helmet is much more reminiscent of the vintage flight suit, although his vest details are still a bit of a disaster. That silver thing on the bottom looks like a misplaced bow tie. Although his military greenish flight suit is nothing to write home about, his blaster arm is posed to give A-Wing Pilot a decent sense of action. Loose mint A-Wing Pilot will cost you around $170. Kenner cardback figures are worth $250, while the tri-logo variant is priced at $200. Like most motorists in the Star Wars universe, A-Wing Pilot's value can be found from the waist up. He may be a bit of a mixed bag in that regard, but A-Wing Pilot has enough going for him to avoid being a total disaster, like some of his comrades in arms. Number 9. Han Solo Carbonite is an ugly figure. If not for the awesome carbonite that comes with him, Han Solo would have criminally jockeyed for last place on our list. Now we know Harrison Ford came out of that carbonite looking a little bit healthier than you would expect, especially from a guy in frozen hibernation. But did Kenner really have to make his figure look so chunky? That is really the only word that comes to mind when you look at this figure. Unless you look at his arms, then you might be thinking wimp. Loose mint Han Solo in carbonite will cost you $180. The Kenner cardback figure runs around $400, just ahead of the $375 that you'll pay for a tri-logo carded variant. One of the coolest accessories saves one of the worst hero representations in the Kenner toy line from hitting bottom. This is easily the worst Han Solo action figure and comes close to being the worst representation of any hero in the Star Wars toy line. Number 8. Luke Skywalker, in his battle poncho, is one bad design decision from being great. Luke comes with a nice array of well-executed accessories that surpass those of his Endor allies. But why? Why did Kenner sculpt his helmet to his head? His body sculpt is superior to his other Return of the Jedi figure likenesses. But if you take off his poncho, he just ends up looking like a dork. The helmet doesn't even look like it's big enough for his head. Come on, Kenner. You were this close. Loose mint Luke Skywalker in his battle poncho costs $150, with carded mint examples priced at $250. Perhaps one of the biggest missed opportunities Kenner ever had, Luke Skywalker in his battle poncho is so close to greatness that it hurts. Maybe some talented action figure surgeon can give us the ultimate Return of the Jedi Luke we've been looking for. In the meantime, we'll have to settle for some good Lukes with a few compromises. Number 7. Jabba's palace is filled with some colorful characters, but Barada takes the cake as the most piratey crony of the bunch. Aside from sharing his cohort's unfortunate taste for pastel shirts, Barada is the perfect picture of swashbuckling do-battery from the bottom of his shiny black boots all the way up to his makeshift headband. From his cool knapsack to his finely detailed face and hands, Kenner went the extra mile for Barada. Loose mint Barada costs $95, with carded mint examples around $200. A perfectly realized space pirate, Barada is the figure that Pruneface wanted to be. If you need a green-faced villain who would be just as comfortable on the high seas as he is on a sand skiff, Barada is your man. Number 6. Following in the footsteps of his brethren, Imperial Gunner finishes off Kenner's Imperial troop builders in style. His strikingly red visor stands in stark contrast to the rest of his costume. And who knew that all you had to do was dye ATST driver's shirt black to make it look cool? Imperial Gunner even has enough fashion chutzpah to break out the big shiny belt buckle. Loose mint Imperial Gunner will cost you around $160, with carded mint examples priced at $250. He may not have the first, or even the 5th costume you think of when it comes to Imperial-style awesomeness, but Imperial Gunner certainly does enough to stand proudly among his better-known associates. Number 5. A highlight for a number of reasons, EV-9D9 is a nicely detailed likeness of his on-screen persona. Everything that makes this droid unique, all the way down to his movable mouthpiece, are well represented here. 99 towers over his Kenner counterparts and is almost distractingly tall compared with other figures. The only real strike against him is how easily his limbs break, which hampers his playability. Loose mint EV-9D9 costs around $200. A Kenner cardback figure will run you $300, with the tri-logo variant priced around $350. He's more of a showpiece than a fun toy, but oh, what a showpiece he is. EV-9D9 stands tall amongst his action figure peers. Number 4. Don't let Yak Face fool you with his easygoing expression, because the devil is in the details with this action figure standout. Sure, you could just pop a cigarette in his mouth and call him Joe Yak Face, but any guy that sports a tie made out of Wookiee fur is not to be messed with. Every detail, from his ankle pocket to his raggedy jacket, screams that Yak Face is a man of action. Loose mint Yak Face goes for $500. A tri-logo variant carded Yak Face will cost you $1,500. The ultimate Yak Face collectible is his one-of-a-kind, bilingual Canadian Kenner cardback figure, which will run you anywhere from $6,000 to $7,500. Kenner put a lot of effort into Yak Face. At first sight, he may not appear to be the most intimidating of Jabba's minions, but if you pay attention to the details, you will find a killer action figure hidden behind a cigarette pitchman's face. Number 3. Speaking of intimidating, Kenner went all in on a Manaman. This spaced-out freak show is as alien-looking as anything you will find in the Star Wars action figure line. Kenner sacrifices playability for movie-accurate monster awesomeness. And we'd be totally remiss not to mention his staff, complete with shrunken heads and a severed hand. It is the high water mark for plastic action figure weapons. Loose mint Amanaman costs around $160. His Kenner carded figure runs near $350, just behind the $400 you'll have to shell out for a tri-logo variant carded figure. Jabba's palace crew goes out with a bang as Amanaman dazzles and terrifies in equal measure. His pose may make him a little difficult to play with, but as a showpiece, Amanaman is beyond compare. Number 2. Luke, in his stormtrooper disguise, may not be the absolute best, but he is plenty good to be saved for the last Luke that Kenner released. Kenner pulls a better late than never, delivering a figure that kids wanted since the Dianoga tried to choke Luke out in the trash compactor. Now you could ask him if his head is a little too small for a stormtrooper, but that would just be splitting hairs for a figure that works just as good as an Imperial troop builder as he does the greatest hero in the galaxy. Loose mint Luke Skywalker, in his stormtrooper disguise, goes for $300. His Kenner cardback figure is priced at $675, just behind the $700 it will cost for a tri-logo variant. He's one of the greatest movie heroes, dressed up in one of the greatest movie costumes of all time. The only complaint we have for Luke in his stormtrooper disguise is, why didn't you get here sooner? Number 1. Hello, what have we here? Lando Calrissian has finally given his due with this list-topping figure. From the tips of his shiny boots all the way to his roguish likeness, Lando Calrissian General Pilot costume cuts the dashing figure worthy of the smoothest man in the Star Wars universe. Throw in that silky flowing cape, and ladies, beware. That's General Calrissian to you. Loose mint General Calrissian costs around $170, with carded mint examples priced at $250. Lando finishes out our list of elite number 1s by proving the best heroes get the best figures. So like Lando, Star Wars Worst to First will finish out our list of original Kenner movie figures in style. We'd like to thank all of our loyal viewers for sticking around for our unique take on Star Wars action figure rankings. While we've finished our rankings of movie figures, Star Wars Worst to First still has a few more tricks up its sleeve. Check back soon for details on our next Star Wars figure-centric project, delivered to you as only Star Wars Worst to First can.